Okay, I'm glad. I thought it was just me. I'm having trouble with my AirPods, and then I couldn't hear her. This morning is nothing's working right. Oh Lord. Good morning. Okay, yeah, nobody can hear you. I can hear now though.
Can you hear?
Hmm.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You-
All right. I don't know what that's about. Like I said, we're on unstable internet. Me and Morgan working out some kinks. Now it switched us around, which is fine. We ain't changing nothing else at this point. Um, as long as you can hear. Thanks, Darren. So I was saying, happy Monday, everyone. I apologize for the unstable internet. I am not away from home with the grandkids today. But we, of course, wanted to make sure we make our show happen. Two Peas in a Podcast, which is definitely the non-negotiable show for myself. So we're kicking it off from the hotel lobby, and it's definitely a little shaky. But good morning to everybody. We saw Keys. Good morning, bro. We saw Don D. We saw Ken. We saw Darren. We saw James. Um, who else? Who else? Oh, of course, we saw Stan first thing. Stan was number one in the chat this morning. Um, Rock, what's up, Rock? Rock. We see y'all. We see y'all. So if I missed anybody in the chat, I do apologize. Like I said, we worked through some tough technical difficulties. It says another guest. That is we Morgan. Anyway, we can touch on nothing. I think you in as an admin now, which would be great. Um, but we're not touching nothing. So we're gonna go ahead and get the show started. This is definitely a topic that Dre actually established for this week. And y'all know how he works. He'll come in when he comes in. No, I'm not gonna mess with him. Monday mornings is daddy mornings for him, and he is employed unlike the two of us, so we can be on time because this is like our job, not job. But for those who actually getting paid, oh, balloons! How did that happen? I like that. For
This is my
those of you who actually get paid for what you do, we understand. But definitely, we wanted to talk about this topic. And I wanted to start off as a prelude to this topic. And you guys know that there's not much that grinds my gears. It's not much that can upset me when it comes to people and their other animals and their animals that they own. But I will remind everyone that your animals is perfectly okay to wait until summertime to be taken outside. I cannot tell you guys how important that is. So let me just break it down for you guys in reptile medical terms. When you say that it is 65 degrees, 60 degrees to you, to your reptile, that's 30, 40 degrees. Specifically with reticulated pythons and specifically with Burmese pythons. Good morning, Dre.
Good morning. Good morning.
Specifically with Burmese pythons. I cannot stress enough. If you want to kill your animal quicker than its lifespan, if you want to shorten your animal's lifespan, if you want to make your animal sick long term and or short term, take them outside before the summer months. If you live in cold weathers, you will have a dead or deceased snakes within a few years, and I promise you, you will have an unhappy snake who is suffering quietly from respiratory infections that you can't even see yet. Okay, so I'm gonna say this, and this is the one thing that I stand on business on. I don't say much about people and their animals and what you do, but it grinds my heart. Dre knows this. I don't say shit about a lot of stuff, but that right there is the worst thing you can do to an animal. I do not know what the obsession is with we got to put our animals on screen. You can do that in the house. Y'all see me do that all the time, all winter. All winter, there's animals on screens, there's animals on enclosures. What you don't see is what you see in the summertime, animals outside. Now, people living in Florida, people living in like where uh,
Mississippi.
Morgan lives, yeah, Texas,
The
your
South. Yeah,
75
well, then
degrees and
in
your
the summer
70
months,
degrees,
it's too
it's
hot
too
in the summer
hot.
months to take mine out.
Exactly. Exactly. But I'm talking to the people who over here in the East Coast. I'm talking to the people who's in the Midwest. I'm talking to the people who, even if we got 70 degrees right now today, it doesn't feel like 70 degrees in Florida. Okay. your reptile will certainly die. So those animals you're so proud of will die. I'm just keeping it real. I don't know how a way to tell you. May not die today. You may have one that suffers for a couple years, but it will die. It won't live the term of its life. Okay? Please stop it, y'all. Stop it. Stop it. Like seriously, like that to me breaks my heart when I see that shit. I mean, it breaks my heart. That is probably for the big snakes the great way to kill them sooner than later. That's probably one of the most reasons why big snakes don't live the term of their lives. That and overfeeding is two things that you would do to a large reptile that will kill them sooner than later. So before we go into that, I wanted to get that off because that has been bugging my chest. Um, and this is something that me and Dre talk about on this channel all the time, right? This is something we cover consistently. This is something that I type and another thing. I am very clear about shipping, right? Not just for the winter months. There are summer months that I'll say it's too hot and no, my animals don't get shipping. Let me tell you where I don't rely on heat packs, okay? I don't rely on cold packs because both of them fail when your service and your shipping systems fail. Okay. So a heat pack means nothing after 24, 48 hours. Okay. So when that animal is stuck at FedEx, which right now, that's what's happening. If y'all not aware, that's why Redline stopped shipping. It's not just about temperatures. Redline's insurance is if the animal get held up at a shipping center, that we ensure that if that animal dies, we will replace the cost of that animal. I cannot hold Redline to that insurance when they say do not ship. Okay? That's my warning. When they say do not ship, that's telling me and every vendor now, if you want to go ahead and ship your animal, I'm in no hurry. I can hold your animals. I have plenty of space. I can put in 3 more racks in my house for babies if I wanted to, okay? I got plenty of space. I know some breeders don't, and they rushing your animal out, and they don't care if your animal get there okay or not. That's not me. I am going to ship your animal when I feel comfortable that their animal will survive, even if it's delayed. And if you don't understand that, great. That's probably why you're not a customer of mine. Because I will never, ever break that rule or that law for myself. If something happens to an animal in shipping as a breeder, I'm 110% okay with knowing that I did the best that I could based on protocol, guidelines, and insurance to make sure that the animal is going to get to where it is safe. That's why I have a no refund policy because I follow policies and guidelines, period. So if you want to step outside of that, I'm not even getting to the fact that, oh, you're putting your animal at risk. No, I'm not putting the animal at risk. I'm just not going to ship it. And if that's going to keep you from not buying the animal, that's absolutely a-okay with me. You are not the person who should be keeping my babies anyway. All right? All right. Let's moving on. So Warren just said I had 2 people try to send me some. What the hell, right, Ken? And you in Pennsylvania. That's the first thing I ask is where are you located? It tells me certain things, where your hubs are. It tells me when I'm going to be able to most likely ship to you. But if you have a breeder who would say, Ken, I'm going to ship you this snake, even if it's a ball python, even if you put an installation on it, even if you're making sure you put a heat pack on it in 30-degree weather, I would decline any offer to purchase an animal from that breeder. And that's on business. All right. So, starting to Dre's topic, the excessive handling, and I kind of know where Dre is going with this topic. I just don't know what perspective he has on it. I will start by saying we talk about that. Like there are some animals who you just don't see handled a lot, and I'll use my collection for an example. Tarantulas being one. I have a curly hair that I could handle if I want to, but you're not supposed to handle tarantulas, and that can be at a short distance. That's why we build their substrates and their enclosures the way they do, because they're climbers. So if they fall, they're safe. Their stomachs are safe. Green tree pythons. Y'all see me and Dre all the time. They are temperamental. They let you know some days it's cool, some days, most days, I don't want to be handled because of the type of snake I am. This is not a safe thing to do with me. They have prehensile tails, and therefore, the way that we handle our retics, our boas, and our ball pythons will never be the same as you would handle a green tree or the good thing about a green tree and an emerald tree boa, unlike our retics and our ball pythons, they'll let you know real fast. Today is not today. Okay. They will let you know why are you in here. It will be like it's not even the same snake that was in there yesterday that you just had out. But our retics and our berms and our ball pythons and our boas are a little bit more tolerant, a lot more tolerant of us. So they sometimes, a lot of times, will just come out and not want to be handled. So, Dre, you can go ahead and pick up because I know this was your topic. I think it's a great topic because again, as we talk about social media and being influencers and things like that, we have to also, and Dre, I commend you because you out here, you say it sometimes when we're live, and sometimes the people want to see a certain animal. We have to say, not today, because the animal, blah, 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 or she's not in the mood today. I told Dre the Golden Child Cow is one. You'll see me pull out Hefe, Mystical, T'Challa over and over again because they always want to be out. The Golden Child Cow is not the same. She has her moments. Now she has her moments she want to be out all day. She has her moments of don't touch me. But I felt like this was a great topic, Dre, because so many people make this mistakes, not just with snakes, but with lizards too. So go ahead.
Yeah, reptiles in general. Honestly, this topic came from. So I went back live on TikTok this week. So I went twice, and I was just like a lot of people who had questions, and there were four people that messaged me, and basically they're all of them were snakes. They couldn't get their animals to eat. Two were ball pythons, and one was a boa, one was a berm. So, of course, you got to ask those probing questions. You got to ask, got to get more information so you can point them in the right direction. And they all said the same thing. They, every single one of these people got their snakes less than a week ago, and they were already taking pictures. They were already handling. They were already, well, like basically doing everything that they see on social media. And I think we have to, us as keepers, we have to make sure we talk about the behind the scenes stuff as much as we talk about the stuff that everybody sees, because Morgan knows, especially large snake keepers, we know what goes into taking care of these animals. Like, we don't talk about how it may take 10 to 12 times for us to get that perfect video or that perfect photo or whatever the case. Or we don't talk about how we had to let a certain snake not be bothered for 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes a month, because they haven't been in the mood or they've been in shed or they just, we don't talk about a lot of that. So I had to basically
Thanks,
break it
Eric.
down to each of them that it's not a dog, it's not a cat. You have to let them acclimate. You have to remember, with these are animals that we bring into captivity, and they rely on other things for their heat source. They rely on a bulb, so it's not like a dog or cat where they're fine, they're perfectly adjusted. They may have some runny poop here and there, but it's not going to make them act any different. And once they understood that, it kind of made more sense to them, but nobody ever told it to them. So they thought it was okay to just take them. And then three out of the four, it was their first snake. One of them should have knew better because it was their third snake. But of course, the three, it was their first snake. I wasn't too worried about quarantine, obviously, because they don't have any other reptiles. So technically, they're quarantining the animal anyway, because it's the only reptile. But this other person, they had three other snakes, and I'm just like, well, why would you? And they live in, they were in Dayton, so Ohio. So I'm just like, well,
Right.
what do you expect is going to happen? So you're able to tell me that the snake is stressed, but you're not able to pinpoint why it's stressed, and you have other snakes. It doesn't make too much sense. So it kind of made me want to talk about this topic because I feel like, and we've talked about this before, everybody, especially with big snakes, everybody is obsessed with having that final product. Everybody wants that large, big snake to show off, but nobody wants to do the work to get to that point. You still
The
got to
work, and
understand
it's a lot of work in
these are
between that. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
these are babies. Even if it's not a baby, the big retake Cardi B, the one I took in from Justin. It took me a while to even. I still haven't even showed her off on my YouTube. It's been like what 7, 8 months. She's doing great, but I think some people, like I said, just want to rush right into it and not think about how it's going to affect them in the long run, especially if you're inexperienced with, snakes and something happens, then you're not going to know how to deal with it. You're going to reach out to somebody like me or you and then expect us to try to fix it for you. And that's sometimes honestly it doesn't work.
Well, it's not going to work, and I'll give you back going back to a elongated respiratory infection in the snake. That was something that happened years ago for most people. And again, keeping big snakes, most people don't realize that your animal can be sick for a long time, and you don't even know it, right? So we have to not predispose them to certain situations. So when you talk about that eating situation, so let's talk about a large retake, for example. I actually think it's worse with larger animals because they are more familiar with their surroundings, their existence. So you shift the existence of them, and now they really have to figure everything out. Remember, and you see this with lizards. One of the reasons why a lizard regurgitates their food before when they're in uncomfortable situations is because snakes won't eat when they feel danger. They won't eat when they're uncomfortable because they are less able to move. They are less mobile under those circumstances. And they are smart enough. Again, I keep telling you, these animals are smart enough. They're smart enough to know that if I'm fat and full, I can't get away from the predator.
Yeah.
So one of the first signs that you see in these snakes when we rehome them, which is one of the reasons why I hate rehoming snakes, when we rehome them, it's typically their food response is turned off because now they are in a strange place. They're in a strange situation. They don't know you like that. And so therefore they shut down their systems because they feel like they are not protected and they need to be able to go into flight mode. And if I need to go into flight mode, I can't be full. So when you're offering it that rabbit, it's not going to eat it. It's not going to eat it. It's not going to eat it until it's comfortable. It's not going to eat it if it's not if it's not comfortable.
Uh oh, we lost Morgan. I mean, we lost Nicole. Oh shit.
I'm still here. That's happened a few times. She did say she's in a hotel lobby and the internet's
Oh
not.
yeah, that is right. Well, till there she go. I was
Sorry
gonna
about
take
that.
over.
I'm back. Yeah, you could have like like I said, I'm in this shaky internet. But yeah, so they're not going to eat if they're not comfortable. I get it a lot from, and I talked about this a few weeks ago, especially on TikTok. I get messages from ball python keepers. And they'll ask me, well, I just got a snake from this breeder or whatever, and it's not eating. Call that breeder. Because I think sometimes you don't call that breeder because the breeder already gave you the instructions what to do and not to do. And you want to then talk to me because you don't want to talk to that breeder because you done defied what that breeder said. If it was a good breeder, I'm going to echo what that breeder told you. Like you screwed up. You screwed up the process of that animal. If that breeder told you don't feed an animal for 7 days, like I can tell people, this retake you can feed in 3 days. This one, give it 7 days or whatever. I'll tell you that. I know that animal. But if a breeder tells you that and then you go ahead and offer the animal food and then come and tell me what the animal won't eat, well, you probably scared the shit out of him offering the food. And breeders tell you these things because they know their animal. I can't fix your
Right.
mistakes once you have purchased from a breeder and you defied what that breeder told you to do with that particular animal. He knows their animal. She's knows their animal. I don't. So respect your
Yeah.
breeders when it comes to the do's and don'ts because they're trying to tell you the best way to transition an animal.
Hey, I also just wish there was a lot more common sense when it came to keeping reptiles. I don't I don't understand why people overcomplicate it. 'Cause I remember being in everybody's different, but I just remember being a new keeper, and there were just certain things where I felt like should have been common sense. Like when I got my snake, like Kato was my first snake. When I got him home, I didn't bother him for like 2 weeks. I made sure he had water. I would check on him, make sure he was cool. I didn't bother him for 2 weeks. Now,
That's my
after,
protocol with every baby boa. Every boa I
mhm,
get 2 weeks. I mean, far
mm,
as like
mm,
handling. I might have to move them around to pick up poop and stuff like that, but I'm talking about as far as handling. 2 weeks with every baby boa.
yeah, I didn't even offer him food until after a week and a half because he wasn't having it. And then of course he didn't even want frozen, so of course I had to go get live, and immediately it was fine. But it's just I don't understand the obsession of trying to rush the process because I mean with
It's
any
all that it's kind of like self, not self gratification, instant gratification. Nobody wants to wait for anything. They see all these other people online with their relationships with their snakes or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they want that immediately. They don't want to have to take the time to put in the work to
Mm-hmm.
establish that relationship with that animal.
And I'll give you an example. That's a good point, Morgan. Going back to what Dre said earlier about people see the end results of the relationships with these snakes. So other than YouTube, you never saw my animals in the public, like as far as on TikTok or Instagram, any of that. My big snakes, you didn't start seeing T'Challa, you didn't start seeing Hefe, you didn't start to see Mystical until 2 years ago on Instagram and TikTok. And that was, in fact, TikTok only a year ago. And the reason being is, as a keeper and a breeder who understands the laws and the politics and everything else that goes behind us keeping these animals, I want to make sure that when I present animals in front of a camera, that I don't have to worry about those unfortunate situations happening on camera. That's another thing that people make. People will take in a snake and not realizing that you haven't bonded enough with that snake to be on camera long term. Now, if you want to take a picture or something like that or quick video, that's different. I'm talking about educating. I'm talking about being on camera saying, this is the snake. You on a camera 15, 30 minutes with this animal. You don't know what can happen in that time if this is not an animal you're familiar with. So even when you raise them up, right? So I always talk about on the TikTok live, for example, I'm in the baby room. I'm in the adult room. It's certain things I don't do in one room to the other. And I don't convince, you can't convince me on live to do it. You'll hear me say, I don't
yep,
do that. I
mhm,
stepped out of that room already. I washed my hands or whatever. Like, whatever, you'll hear me say that. And I'm not going back in that room. Monday is another live, and I'll show you X, Y, and Z. You'll hear me say that. Because the thing is that I think, too, that sometimes we get so caught up in wanting likes and views, and we're not going to be able to get that. We're not going to be able to get those likes and those views. Well,
mhm,
you'll get them, but it hurts the entire hobby when in that moment that snake bites somebody. You know what I'm saying? It bites you because now we're on TV on trying to convince people that these animals won't harm us, right? And the truth is they won't, right? Most of them won't. But I can't guarantee that when you with a new animal or baby that I had, you know what I'm saying? Like it takes time to know, even with the babies. The other day I did a perfect example. These are all the babies, all born on the same day. They're different sizes, they different personalities. All these other ones, you see me going here without a hook. This one right here, which was A, it was the first super motley I showed the other day. You better not put your hand in that baby enclosure without a hook. But you know what? That's also a baby that you don't see for sale. That baby will never be put up for sale unless I feel like if a child accidentally put their hand in there, it won't get bit right away. Right now, I can
mhm,
assure that. I can assure my grandkids if you go in there and put your hand in A without a hook, now once you put the hook on it, she's fine. But if you go and put your hand in there with A without a hook, you will get bit. Now you can do that with any of the other ones, and I'm sure of that. But you better not do it with her. Period.
Right. I've had to teach that to my kids, mainly my oldest, because he's used to, he knows what snakes he can just go in and look
Exactly.
up or whatever. But Antonio's cage, the bigger retic, um, he went in to go get Antonio one day, and I
Hey,
said,
Ryan.
Where's your hook?" And he said, "Well, I didn't need one for Nikita." And I said, this isn't Nikita. You need one for this one unless you want to get bit. Now, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to sit there and say, don't do that, because my kids are very much the ones that need to learn that lesson the hard way. But I'll say, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. I'm not going to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find out either way. And he backed away and he was like, all right, where's the hook? So now he knows, like, that was about a month or so ago, and now every time he goes in there, he knows Antonio has to have a hook. Um, it's a really simple concept to teach people. If I can teach my kids that lesson, I feel like more adults can learn it too.
Well, I
Well,
think too,
kids are
what you said is a point. Sometimes you gotta let them see, like Scala. Scala with the retakes are very comfortable. So I
yeah.
literally allowed her to go in and do what she wanted to do with they know that to read the babies by letters with K. And K bit her. Now she thought it was funny. And I said to her, I was like, okay, it's funny this time. Because Kay didn't get you like Kay. A baby Rita can bite you really hard if it wants to. I said it was
Mhm.
funny this time. I said, but what you do know now is that Kay will bite. And from that moment, she handles Kay with a hook. Because even though she thought it was funny, it didn't hurt her.
Mm.
She know that it's a possibility that Kay can definitely bite. Where before in her head,
Yeah.
it wasn't a possibility because none of these snakes in her
She's
head
never
bite.
experienced it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but also one thing is it's a baby now, but in a year it won't be.
Right.
So you can
Exactly.
just imagine the type
Won't be a
of
small baby.
you can just imagine the type of damage and pain that it'll inflict. So
Yep. And that's
it's definitely a
important.
lot of lesson. And as far as kids, I think they're very easy to impress on because they're eager to learn. That's the
Hmm.
one thing that I can say about the hobby is everybody, even the people who aren't educated and come and ask you questions, they will argue with you what information you gave them because
Right.
they want to be right so bad. So the person that's actually doing it and has experience, they'll argue with them and tell them that they're wrong. And it's just like, this is your first snake. You can't
They
tell
don't
me that.
have
You can't
the
Ain't nothing,
argue with my
CJ.
experience. So um I've learned to not be as available to everybody for help because I don't have that type of time. And at the end of the day, you can argue with me all you want. Our snakes are fine. I'm
And,
doing fine.
and that's what I can say. In 35 years, the only snake that I had I can't even say that got sick and died. The snake was 22 years old and it died. Now, I still say it had to get sick from something because I believe a snake can live more than 22 years. But my point is that people can't get snakes past 5 years, can't get snakes past 10 years. And these are animals who can live up to 30 years. So it's like, I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying don't do what you want to do with your animal. I'm far beyond, but don't call me to fix your problem. Call the breeder who already probably gave you directions, especially on TikTok. This thing, I don't know
yeah.
if y'all experience it. Y'all go live and then you get like 10 messages about how to help somebody with their sick or snake that won't
Mhm.
eat. I know I say on every live, you should be going to your breeder first. That's the
Right.
first sign to me that you defied what your breeder said. If you come to me, this stranger that you met first time on a TikTok live and ask them about your snake, I
Right.
don't care how professional I look. I don't care how much I know about my animals. I am not my go-to person. If something happens with my adult retics right now, you know who I'm calling? The breeder. Hey, Jim, I done had these snakes for 5 years now. Hey, Jim, what's
Right.
going on?
No, my
But
my
that's,
first go-to is the breeder, and
yes,
it's something that I've talked to both of you about,
it's ridiculous.
in the past, but my first go-to is the breeder, but if
But you
I
went to the breeder first, and then you asked a follow-up question to me because you
yeah,
you had
I
questions about the breeder's answer, and that makes perfectly
yes,
sense.
yeah. So it's good to have like a lineup of people, but that first line of defense should be the person you got that snake from, not from
Exactly.
some stranger. But on two, it drives me crazy when people ask me for advice. Like somebody messaged me recently, and I've gotten this a lot, specifically for the Samboa. They'll ask me about Samboa care, and I'll tell them, don't put it in sand. You're going to kill your snake. Well,
Everybody say that.
it has sand in their name. Obviously, it needs sand. I'm like, okay, do
I'm
what you want.
sorry. I was that person when I first heard that. I'm like, well, why
Me
can't a
too.
sand
Me
boa?
too. Me too. And that's why I know, don't put it in sand. But people, like Dre said, people want to come back and argue. I'm if I look back 10 years ago from how I was keeping snakes, I'm like mortified. But I've also taken advice from people that I
Mhm.
trust in the community, and I've grown from it. I don't, if you told me something like, hey, I wouldn't do this or whatever, I wouldn't come back and say, I know more than you because I don't.
Mhm.
It's crazy to ask somebody for
But
advice.
you may know more than me when it comes to a king snake. You may know more than me when it comes to a sandbar, because those are animals I keep. And so, again, we have to humble ourselves. Because, like, for me,
Mhm.
if I went to go get a blood boar right now, I'll give you an example. I don't know nothing about keeping a blood boar. I'm gonna have a whole conversation with y'all first. Like, what do you do? What do you do? You know, Dre, what do you do about this? What do you do about, like, that's, I don't know nothing about a blood boar. Same thing with the rhino iguana. When Dre kept saying, "Nicole, get your rhino iguana," I was like, I got to research this
I've
thing.
heard him say that.
Right. But he was, he's, I got you. This is what you need, blah, blah. But I need
For
to
sure.
research so I don't do nothing dumb, like go in there and get bit. Because, I'll give you your Ronald iguana, for example. Dre, when he got his, the animal was jumping up on him. He was able to feed it. Every Ronald iguana I know, you just can't put your hands to their mouth. But
Right.
because I saw Dre with his cute little one, okay, let me go ahead and try with this one. Then I'm tip of my finger gone. Like,
But Nicole, you like me though. We interact with our animals in a very different way. It's a very high level because we like to take animals that most people said you can't do something
can't
with
keep
and actually prove them wrong
and
because
do
it's
it.
like
Right.
you might not be able to do that,
Right.
but you can't
Watch
tell me I can't do
me.
it. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
I,
So it's
I
like
swear
I
that's
remember
every day.
when I got my first green tree python, everybody was like, "Oh, they're so evil. You'll never be able to hold it." And this, and this. And it's just like I wasn't aiming to hold it, but I wanted to create
Right,
a
Darren.
bond to where it shows. Same with the blood python. I wanted to create a bond with an animal that people said you couldn't do. Now,
Mhm.
people might have been right about this cayman. That's okay, but
Yes, I was gonna bring up a Cayman. There's somebody on TikTok that has a smooth front Cayman, and everyone, because I want a Cayman, everyone said stay away from smooth fronts, and I see this smooth front on TikTok. The
Is
owner's like
it?
kissing
you
her
Is
talking
it?
about
hip.
crazy cayman lady?
Yes, she's
Yeah.
like sticking her finger all around her mouth, and I'm just like,
So that's the same person that's on Instagram as Tango Dwarf Cayman. That's the same person.
okay,
So Tango originally died, so now she has Turbo and whoever
oh,
else. I
see, I
don't
think
need my
those
Cayman to be that calm. I still want my animals
Want
to
it to
exhibit
be
their
Canaan.
natural, you know what I'm saying? So now
I feel
I
that
don't
way.
knock her for it. I don't
do
knock her for it, but I'm not about to I don't need to dress up my Caymans. I think what she does is amazing for what she wants to do, but for
see.
me,
It's something that
I want to
there's
show
something that I would
people
do,
I want to
but
show people how to keep exotic animals that have that type of temperament in captivity. I don't
right,
need everything to be dog tame. That's not the point of keeping. So,
but if you want
I
a dog,
think
get a
what
dog.
she does is dope. I think what she does is amazing, and she's really, really good at getting her cayman to calm down. Now, I'm not sure if hers is a
Right.
smooth fur or a Cuvier's. I know she specifically
She
dealt with
posted
Cuvier's
one
before,
this
but
morning or yesterday, and it was a smooth front. And
yeah, there.
Well, I don't want
for
to dress
people,
the
if I don't
Cayman.
know what I'm looking at, I'm gonna look at that video and be like, "Oh, look at this smooth front Cayman. I want to get one like that," not knowing that's not their normal temperament.
Well,
So the thing with
another
smooth
thing,
fronts,
Morgan, is everybody don't know there's different Caymans. Like, so Trey, you remember 2 years ago we was having a conversation. I was talking about my visit at Nerds, and Dre was like, "Well, I think that's a this kind of Cayman." I was like, "Dre, I'm like, no, it's a damn Cayman, okay? I don't know which one it was." And so, then I think you said, oh yeah, I think he keeps cubias or whatever the word is or whatever. And I was like, okay, well,
that's
that was
right.
the one it is. But who knows? Like who else other than Dre and a few handful of people who knows the scientific name of every damn caiman that's out there?
Paleosuchus
You, right.
papabropus,
Weirdos.
Paleosuchus trigonatus.
The real weirdos of the reptile community know all that. Not us normal weirdos.
But also you gotta know the information. Like when people we've talked about this on the podcast before. I don't sound how I look. The gold
Right.
grills and the gold and
You sound
people
very
look at
Well,
me
the
and they don't
assumption.
expect me to have the level of knowledge that I have, but I make it a point to make sure I'm educated on the animals that I'm keeping. Because number one, I'm not about to be out here making YouTube videos and educational posts and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
But also knowing that the animals that I keep are definitely not for the average keeper. I have to be up on game. So, but going back to the Cayman, regardless of how tame she is or isn't, I know how to deal with her. I know how to manageably handle her to the point where I don't get hurt, she doesn't get hurt. So,
And
going
I
back
think,
to
honestly, Dre, I'm sorry. excuse me, this I want to plug this. When it comes to lizards, there's no such thing. I can even tell you with my retakes. I'm serious. Yes. T'Challa, I is tame. Mystical is tame. Heffy is tame. I can touch their tongues. I can put my finger in it, but I don't matter. I can do anything to them. When it comes to water monitors and tagles, yes, you see me hugging them. Yes, you see me feeding them. But at any given moment, it becomes a water monitor or a taggle. And if you don't know what I mean, keep a taggle. And you don't know what animal you're getting when you go in there. Sometimes it's the puppy dog tame one who just want to love all on you. It climbs right up on you. Hey, mommy, let's go have fun. The
But
next day
again,
is, why are you here?
you'll never know. And honestly,
And
a lot of us are scared to show that side of our reptiles because you got, you know, laws being made every 5 minutes, and we don't want to show the reptiles in that light. So
Oh,
we
I
can't.
show it. You see her right now? I ain't fooling
It
around.
just it gets tough when you're trying
Right,
to be realistic and show every aspect of reptile
right.
keeping, but then you have a law that pops up because this video happened and they can manipulate it however they want,
hmm
and
right.
I mean, the
it's rough.
reality of it is that tegus should not be able to escape homes. Snakes should not be able to escape homes. Water monsters should not be able to escape homes. My thing is that whatever challenge I had with any of those animals, it's not a threat to the public. You know why? Because they're not leaving my home. The problem is when
Mm.
we become lazy, trifling, irresponsible keepers who
Irresponsible.
allows these. Because let me tell you something. Unless you got bay windows wide open, a retic is not going through a crack. They can't. They not going under your door sweep. They're not
Mm-mm.
going in the crack in your screen. They're not. Like, you have to have some open stuff for a retic to get through. That's irresponsible. If I'm outside with a retic and they swimming in the pool, my eyes have to be on that pool 100% because we all know retics can move slow most of the time, but when they want to get where they got to get, they get there.
But
Right.
like I tell people, it's like watching toddlers. They're gonna get into stuff. They're
As
gonna
soon as you're not looking, they're
move
getting
around.
into
Right, Chris?
Um,
Yeah.
but
Now,
also,
Gigi and Kobe are different. Kobe is a sweetheart. Gigi is like hot and cold. I can
mm,
guarantee you that Dre, you can come over, go in the enclosure. Once Kobe get over that, like look you up and down thing, you can pick him up. You come in there and try to get it's war from the time you unzipping that thing. Gigi is coming. She's gonna leap at you. Like he's
listen,
gonna leap at you. So they're different. So people would assume seeing me with the two Tagos, you see Kobe way more than you see Gigi. I mean, you see Gigi way more than you see Kobe because Gigi is more of the
Tegu
temperamental
is one
one.
animal that I have zero patience for. And people are like, well, you keep a caiman. Yes, but my caiman does not charge at me. She waits until I get too close. When I have my Tegu, the powder blue Tegu that I got from
Mhm.
Jesse's Jungle, his name was
That's
Nipsey.
where mine are from. Jesse's
That
Jungle.
motherfucker was a lunatic. And I was kind of mad at Jesse because he told me he was a baby. When I got him, that was like a juvenile. He was going through
Mm-mm.
that first hormonal stage, and I'm just like just trying to feed him. And he like as soon as I open the door, he get up, rear up, and he just charges the door. I'm just like, bro,
Goobity.
you are a beautiful animal, but you are a fucking nut job, bro. So
Yeah.
I had him for like a
So they
year, and
were
then
babies.
one of my friends needed him, and I was like, you know what, bro, I don't ever see me getting past this because I don't have the time or the patience to sit down and deal with him. So I was like, so he's a breeder.
I love them. I love the Tegus. They
I
remind me
think
of
they're
pit
dope
bulls.
animals,
Yeah, they're
but I
very
think
pit. They're not animals that. So initially, when I got the Tegus, one of them was supposed to go to the grandkids, right? My grandkids has never taken custody of them. Like they'll play with them at the house or whatever, but I would never send my Tegus. Like seriously, I
not
would send
custody.
snakes home. I'm like, I
this
would
is
not
one
give them
thing.
to
Like
my grandkids.
I just haven't been in. Like I have friends here locally that keep tegus, and I don't know. They don't really do anything.
I
I
think they're
love
amazing
them. They,
animals.
they're like
They're,
little
they're
pit
just
bulls.
they're just not for me, but I think
Hey,
they're dope
Troy.
animals.
Yeah,
Um,
they're definitely like little pit bulls, though.
I
They're
had a point.
definitely.
I had something I was gonna say earlier, but I can't remember what it is now.
But to your point, I feel the same way about the water monitor. But the difference is the water monitor is not like the Tegus at all. So, like you said, the water monitor would never charge you. The water monitor would tell you it don't want to be bothered by it going to that. I call it its little hiding space. When
Hmm.
it wants to be bothered, it lets you know. Even on camera, it will sit there in front of that camera and do things in front of the camera, lick the camera and everything. So I know, okay, this is time for me to go down there and pull because I don't like to pull because Larry is heavy. So y'all. I don't be struggling with these animals. I'm not dragging a big old Asian water monitor. So when Larry wants to climb up on me, I put my hoodie on, let his big butt climb up, and that's how we get out. Other than that, if he don't want to be bothered, y'all not going to see him on camera today. He is not going to be the featured animal. It's just that simple. Now, when he's featured, it's because he wanted to be. And he doesn't like the camera. So that's another thing. Like he's like, he don't like to hear all these different voices and stuff like that. Where the Tegus are interested. They will sit there and be interested. They'll be in the camera. I give them credit for that. They okay with people. But my thing is that to the point of these lizards versus snakes, some people think lizards are easier to keep. I'm telling you all day, I will drag
No,
out a retic before I drag
they're
out
the
any of the lizards.
problem. I tell
They
people all the
are.
time, y'all so scared of snakes. Lizards are the problem. They
And
will
they
chase
boss.
you.
Fighting
And they boss.
100% is
I
worse.
tell people,
Even
I
for
tell people
like,
all the time, lizards are everything that y'all think snakes are. They bout that
Yep.
life.
Yep.
They will
and they
chase you.
don't
They will charge at you, and they will bite the shit out of
and
you.
they got some trifling gums because if what they
Uh,
eat,
even my little bitty like skink,
What up, Sean?
his bite is the
hey
worst thing in
Sean,
the house. It's like it feels like metal clamps like chomping down, and he doesn't just bite and let go. He chomps down and he holds it there.
so
Like I couldn't imagine an animal that's
so I've
3 feet
I've
long
literally
with basically a metal jaw chomping down
I
on your leg.
love to see the Tegus death roll. I do. I think Christmas. I love it. I love to make them do it. I'm not even gonna lie. I love to like throw something in the enclosure, like a piece of food, and they grab it and they like literally do the death roll. I don't want that on my finger though, but I
Ain't
think
that
it's the coolest thing to see.
ain't that so backwards though? Ain't that so
It's
backwards? So,
cute.
but no. Think about it. Alligators death roll. Dwarf caimans don't death roll, but tegus death roll.
But Tegus.
That is interesting.
So caiman actually bite down and shake like a pit bull to
Pit
break off
bull.
their food.
Okay. And see, Tegus do both. They bite like pit bulls. They shake and they roll.
And I don't see why they need to with the big ass jaws they got.
That's
I'm
But
another
excited.
thing. The jaw pressure.
I'm gonna be in the Everglades next Monday, so I'm hoping
See,
to
this
see
is where you are
alligators.
exceptional. So, Morgan likes that, y'all, just so y'all know. She likes to raft and all that stuff with alligators. She is the one who will go in her and look for
I
Burmese
would,
pythons in the
that would
Everglades.
be me too.
Nicole
That
is the
that
one telling her to go live, and I'll watch it.
that I mean, it do sound kind of fun. I would go for sure.
Oh, so this is the
I would go.
thing. I have been to the Everglades. Me and Slim we decided to go to fly into Fort Lauderdale and drive through the Everglades into Key West. Okay. So we
Mhm.
Mhm.
drove through the Everglades. Let me tell you what made me realize that the Everglades wasn't for me because it was the first time I ever saw it in my life. And we are in the car, a alligator climbing a fence. I didn't even know that was a thing. This is
Cayman's
the
good too.
highway.
So
This
I
is
have
the
planned. I have planned for me and my husband and my kids to go paddleboarding with alligators next week. Now I'm trying to convince them to go get on a bicycle and ride through these trails with
All I'm
alligators.
saying
They're
is
falling
somebody
Oh,
hard.
see,
coming
I'll do
back.
that. I'll do that. I've done that. Because let me tell you why. Alligators on the side of like even in New Orleans, if you ever go to New Orleans and you do the excursion where you literally can go and touch the alligators and stuff like that, and these are wild alligators. If you notice, they are very smart because they're used to people.
Well, they're
The
very
animals,
calm too. They're not as like aggressive as people
yes,
think. We did that in Mexico and like walking around with hundreds of alligators all around us and nobody
yes,
like there was no barrier, nothing. We were within inches of these 10 feet, 12-foot alligators and they're just
yep.
sitting
Yeah,
there.
because they're
So
being
I'll
fed by
do that.
humans, so they know you're not a
I was
threat.
getting ready to say that, but in the Everglades, they always looking for food. So that's the difference. So for me, like I even did Gatorland at night. You can do the zip lining at night and you can see all of their eyes and everything. It's the creepiest thing to
That's
do, but it's
lit.
so cool. But it's so cool.
It's lit until that motherfucking
But I
string
ain't
go.
doing that in the Everglades. Right. I'm not
We
doing that
supposed
in
to
the
Like
go
you said,
Everglades.
swimming with
careful.
the we supposed to go swimming with the crocodile, right,
See, I
Nicole?
would do all of that. I will do
That's what I'm
any of
saying. We
that.
supposed to. That post
But
I
not
shared.
in
You
the
said let's
Everglades.
go.
Not in the
I ain't say it
Everglades.
had. I ain't say it had to be in
That
Everglades.
man was in a tank. You can put me in a tank all
Yeah,
day.
apparently that place is in Miami. A couple of my friends from Florida reached out and said that place is in
Yeah,
Miami.
I can
Wait,
do
So
that.
where?
well, we need to make
Well,
that
I need
happen.
details on this.
Yes, So it's like, but it's a cage event. It's not like you because I've swam with sharks because my husband loves sharks. And I'm gonna tell
Mhm.
you, I had to learn that sharks only can attack from the bottom up. So if you go all the way to the bottom of the ocean, so what I did is I went to all the way to the bottom of that part of the ocean we was in because I can swim, and I watched the daggone star, what you call them things, stingrays come from the bottom and all of that because I'm not afraid of them.
Mhm.
But
We
my
did that in
husband
Mexico too.
likes to talk to sharks. See, that he got anytime we go on a vacation, he wants to do anything that's swimming. Swimming. He don't want to be in a cage. He wants to be able to touch the shark. So we
Mhm.
did the nurse sharks and the bull sharks in the Bahamas. Now, let me tell y'all something funny. They said that these animals will only attack from the bottom. Well, you know, a boy from Maryland recently got attacked in that same swimming tank. But the mistake he made is when he came up, they tell you very specifically when you go up, go straight out. He stopped and he paused and he looked back, and before he knew it, he was bit. So, like, even following the instructions on these excursions, like people, that's why I was so offended when people was making a joke about the people dying in the
Submarine.
submarine, because we are those people who get to experience parts of the world that has excursions that most people won't do. And I've done submarines. I have done the sharks. Anything that can kill you,
I just
pretty
can't.
much,
I
we've
can't do
done.
stuff. Now, my dream vacation is swimming in Antarctica with whales and shit like that. That's what I want to do. And
See,
so,
I have no interest. You can go get my husband and take him to go. Y'all can go whale swimming together.
I don't need to go to
Um,
Antarctica to do that. I just go to the Columbus Zoo and just jump on it. Shit, that hurt. I don't need to be cold, too. Absolutely not.
but those are real experiences that because you will see sharks that nobody else seen. That you because you won't
mhm.
see sharks that you see in the Caribbean. That's where the great
I
whites
wonder
are. That's where
why.
the
I
real
wonder
tigers
why.
are.
I wonder why, Nicole. Because it's cold.
I'm just saying.
I
But you
don't
get
know.
to
But
see
when
the
people,
real big
like,
ones.
I tell people I'm going to Florida for spring break, and everyone thinks, oh, you're going to the beach. No, I'm not going to the beach. The only beach I'm going to is Raccoon Island. I'm not like a beach person. When I go
Raccoon
and visit
Island.
places, I
I'm in
want
Ohio. You can just
when
come
I
look in
went
the
to
backyard.
when I went to
Got
Mexico, we didn't
raccoons.
stay in Cancun. We left and went all over. We didn't stay in that touristy area. I wanted to see like the actual country,
Yeah, well,
not
that's what I
you
do
know
anywhere we go.
Mexican
Like we want to
McDonald's.
experience culture. But I will say those countries are better prepared for those type of excursions than we are. So I don't trust America when it comes to like certain things. Like I was comfortable swimming in the Dominican Republic with sharks. I was terrified in the Key West swimming with sharks. And the ones that was in the Dominican Republic was way bigger than the ones that was in Key West. But
I'm gonna be
to
honest with you.
swim, he loves that. And he is like Slim is the one who will show you how we look at snakes, that sharks don't act the way that we think. Because my husband has
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
touched them.
They
He has
don't.
touched he has touched sharks to the point that he touched one. I think we were in either the Cayman Islands or Dominican Republic. And sharks have some type of film on their scales that Slim was allergic to, okay? He comes out of the water, his whole body is in this breakout because he wants to be touching the shark. I'm laughing because they was trying to figure out how to treat him. I was like, you know what? Who's figuring this out? Because why are you even touching the shark this much that you can get some type of bacterial reaction from it? You know, I'm not a shark girl, but I can tell you that my husband supports my weirdness. I support his weirdness. And I can tell you that the experiences I have had, although very scary for me, has been very amazing to see. Even sharks, how they look at you under the water close up, how seeing their eyes, how their eyes move, all of that is just so beautiful. But it's still always a fear of mine. And even when my husband does it like that, you're going to get bit, you know? But it's the same fear I guess people have of snakes. So I try not to be
Mhm.
closed minded to those experiences. So I think it's great that
For
Morgan
sure.
is going to do it and record it so we all can see. Cause
Yeah,
I,
I wanna. I definitely want to go like snorkeling and diving one of these days.
so if you ever want to go, I think the best place to go diving outside the country is the Cayman Islands. Now Turks and Caicos got the best water, but Cayman Islands, when it comes, that's what it's for. It's for divers. Like that's the place you go to train a dive and everything. And they can teach you in like an hour class and stuff like that. Like it's really cool. It's beautiful. My thing is that every time you go down there, you're taking a risk. Just like if going herping and everything else we do. Every time we deal with animals, large constrictors, right?
Right.
But when you're going into their territory, we have to be mindful that they can act like they act in their territory. And it's always a risk. So
Hmm.
that's why I don't find it funny when people die on those type of excursions. People trying to live and experience something amazing doesn't mean that they should die. You know. Good morning,
Right.
Candy. Good morning, Mitzi. Good morning, Carissa.
Good morning. Good
So,
morning. Good morning.
so absolutely. But I think, like I said, to this topic, I think it was a really good topic, because a lot of us, even with like we were talking about the larger constrictors, how they are more verbal and telling you they don't want to be bothered, but our ball pythons don't want to be bothered every day either. And we need to be conscious of that. And I tell that to younger customers, like when they ask, can you, yes, hold them for 15 minutes, but you don't need to hold them
Hmm.
for an hour. Ball pythons don't like that much
Mhm.
handling.
All right, here it comes.
Right.
Now, no,
People have reached. He's in his office. People have reached out to me asking the same thing, and they get this ball python. They've had it out for the last hour, getting all in its face. I'm like, I tell them to sit down on the couch and sit in your lap for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you put it up. Do not expect
yeah,
anything from that animal. Like this animal is
yeah.
so tiny compared to you, probably scared shitless, and you getting all up in its face. Yeah, like that, you're not forming a good relationship. And I've had a lot of people
Hmm.
come back months later and say, "I took your advice and it actually helped." I'm like, "I knew that it would."
Each species is going to be different as to what their
Mhm.
needs are. And even in some cases, like you said, when you keep multiple retics, those different personalities are different as to how much
Each
they want
4
to be
retics are so
are
different.
different. So different.
Um,
And you cannot say one is the same. I don't have one that's the same. They all, some of them might have similarities, but I don't have one that is exactly the same.
right.
Not even in the babies. Like even in the babies, not one of them are exactly the same as the other. All of them have different personalities.
Yeah,
All
that's
of them.
yeah,
So, to sum it up, Dre, excessive handling, don't do it.
pretty much. I mean, that's really it. Like you ain't need to be long and drawn out about it.
And
Just, I
being
mean,
conscious of it. Yeah.
just at the end of the day,
Know your animal, know the species.
Don't
we're
take them out
adults.
in 30-degree weather.
We know people are gonna do whatever they
Yeah, that's
want
the
to
way
do.
back to what Morgan said.
But
If it's
if you
60
do that,
degrees, it's 30 degrees to your snake.
if you gonna do what you want to do, don't message me asking for help because I'm not gonna help you.
If
And
you if you
understand.
if you ask me for advice and you don't take it and then you come back trying to ask for advice again, I'm blocking you.
Look, I had a
Wasting my
girl reach
time.
out to me. I had a girl reach out to me yesterday. The pet store told her a bunch of the wrong information. She sends me a video. She's got her boa, who she's only had for like 3 days, in this empty glass aquarium. She's trying to feed it. And I was just like, well, let me ask you a few questions. And I was like, why are you moving it to feed it? And why is there nothing in this enclosure? Like, well, so she explained everything. Like, this is what she sent me messages. Like, this is what the pet store told me. I said, well, I can see like 5 things wrong with this video. And number two, I said, unfortunately, where you got that snake, they didn't tell you right. I told her, I said, put him back in his enclosure. And you don't need people hovering around the enclosure. The snake obviously feels like it's being watched. So I said, and then they had her feeding the snake 2 mice. I said, if you have to double feed a snake, then you need to get the
Get the
appropriately
right
sized
side.
rodent.
Hmm.
So I
I'm laughing
said,
at Darren.
oh no, you good. I said,
Darren, this is the
put
common
the,
sense part that Dre was talking about.
not wise at all. Not, told her, go ahead and throw the mouse in there, check on it in like an hour. She said, the snake ate in like 20 minutes. And I said, exactly. I said, because a lot of these stores, you can tell who are reptile keeping stores and people who are just trying to sell you shit. And they were definitely just trying to sell you some shit. I said
Mm.
people overthink keeping
Hmm.
reptiles. A lot of it is common sense. And
Hmm.
I try to explain it to people, just like a human baby. When you get that baby home, you don't want to do too much with it. You feed it and you let it sleep. You change it and you let it sleep. That's it. Same thing with snakes. You let them do their thing. You try to feed them. If they don't eat, cool. They're still adjusting. You leave them alone.
Be
Because some,
patient.
I know typically we say don't start handling until after a week. Me personally, if I get a new snake, I don't handle them until after they've taken their first meal from me. After that, because a lot of the times they can still be even after that week they can still be a little defensive. Then you feed them and they're like, okay, cool, I'm good. So I give them a lot more time to adjust. I don't handle them right away. But again, some people want to rush into it, and in this situation, it's not her fault. It's based on what she was told.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I will
why
say I like the way that
doing
you
hold on,
approach.
Morgan. That's why doing your own research is important. You can't always rely
Mm-hmm.
on people. Because even when I go on my YouTube videos, I tell people, do not let my video be your only source of research because I don't know everything. I know some things, but I don't know everything. And there's still things out there that I'm doing that may not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
I do what works for me based on how I keep, and you got to find your way. The floor is
Yep.
yours, man.
Thank you. Okay, so I was gonna say, like, I like your approach on not correcting people, but asking questions like why, getting to know why they're doing what they're doing versus jumping straight into like criticizing somebody
Hmm.
for their
Mm-hmm.
choices. Because a lot of it, like you said, a lot of it is just like being fed misinformation and they don't know. Um, so yeah, that I like the way that you approach teaching somebody or
I mean, it's
explaining like why what they're doing is not going to
when
be beneficial.
when you figure out somebody's like mindset where their head's at, it's easier to help them.
Right. It's
Now if
easy to
she
have to
were to
shift that,
say,
that mindset. Right.
yeah, now if she was to say something like, um, this is what I had snakes back in the day, and this is what I did, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, but you got some very out. I'm not gonna say you're wrong, because for back then it may have worked, but I'm gonna tell you you have some very outdated information because we don't do that no more, and the price of snakes have gone way up. I don't understand why people will pay $3,000 for a snake and then only give it $5 care. That doesn't make any sense to me. Your care needs to match what you're paying for that snake. Now I'm not saying you gotta get out and go out
The
and be fancy,
care is
but
more
you need
important.
to go above and beyond.
The
Exactly.
care
Right.
is going to be more expensive. In my opinion, it should be more expensive than the animal. So if you're
So let's
spending
talk about that.
$2,000 on a snake,
Yep.
you need to be willing to spend more than $2,000 on its care. It's going to require that big enclosure and all the things that go along with
I
it.
mean, if you're taking care of
I
it
mean,
properly, you're gonna spend that regardless.
and going back to, a perfect example. That's even someone who keeps like we do, right? Going
Mhm.
back to the rhino iguana. I gotta make space. Like me and Jay had all kinds of even though he kept joking with, I kept saying, Dre, we gotta make space first. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
all of that,
That's
like
yeah.
goes into play. Now I could have
Gotta
been
make it make sense.
irresponsible and say, well, let me just get it and then make space. You know what I'm saying? But that's the irresponsible thing to do. Um,
Hmm.
so like with all of that, it's like when we're saying these things for people who are novice keepers, we are past the novice keeper point, and we still make these same discretionary. Now, no, could I get a rhino iguana today and then have the proper enclosure built for him tomorrow? Absolutely. But what else gets neglected with me putting all of that focus on this cage and this one animal? Everything gets neglected. So that's not the proper thing to do.
Mm. At the end of the day, you got to make it make sense, and that's it. And is it
Exactly.
is it ethical for me to do this?
Emoho,
That's I think
perfect.
that's the main thing.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's a great point made right here. I don't want to put a dollar amount on car, but I get the idea. Provide top quality care, whether it's a $3,000 retail or a $100 ball python. Right. So I mean on
yep.
care. I know what you meant. But yeah, so and that's another thing. That's a good point because I don't care what the value of the I'll put it this way. The value of the animal is only placed by us as humans. All of them are born with the same value. It's life.
Hmm.
So
Mm.
we should be given the same exact care that we should be given regardless. And one of the reasons why, like even when I do giveaways or whatever, I don't tell people I'm gonna give them something. So I'll use an example recently where someone had they literally put a deposit on a snake. This was a person that I knew that was going to be a part of my gifting, right? But I didn't tell that person because I wanted them to put a deposit on that snake. You know why? Because I wanted them to put something financially valued into that animal. I didn't want it to be a straight giveaway. Hey,
Hmm.
straight blast. I didn't want it to be a straight giveaway. And so I'm a big, even with my kids, like my daughter, Dre knows I recently gave my daughter a truck paid for. But what I'm going to make sure that you do is invest something into it. So let me find something this truck needs. Let's put new tires on it. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that to make her invest into that vehicle, so she won't be like it was just given to me and say, forget this car. Well, no,
That
her
makes,
$1,000 is now into it too because it's put new tires on. She put new tires on it. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that.
yeah, that
You have
makes.
to let people understand. Go ahead, Morgan. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that, like that makes total sense because then like with people, like if you don't invest anything into it, it's not
The
gonna be.
value not there. Yep, the value is not there. So I guess that's to wrap it up for today. Really good topic. I just want to say, I really love Monday mornings with you guys. Even Dre, when you wasn't here, Morgan, you really, really held it down. But the chemistry, and I would always talk to this about Morgan, like it was so easy. We would joke about Morgan. I'm like, with Dre, it was just that we know how each other thinks. So
Mhm.
one of the great things I feel like this panel offers is our versatility and perspective of care. I think there's enough out there telling people about morphs. I think there's enough out there telling people about, what genetics you pair together and all of that. I want this Monday morning to be always about, we always talk about life in general here, but when it comes to the animals, about the best keeping. And I think that you both are passionate about it. It makes me doing this podcast easier. So I just want to take a time out and just thank you guys for getting up on a Monday morning, which is the hardest day of the week for most people, at 8 o'clock a.m. to do this podcast under any circumstances. I can tell you this, and Morgan, I know you experienced it. I get messages all the time. I get the feedback. We watch the comments come back. I love when people reach out to me and just personally say that the dynamic of this show is exactly what they like to see. So I really do appreciate you both. I think we give a variety of perspective. I love how me and Dre don't always agree. Although Morgan doesn't always agree with me, she doesn't be mean to me like Dre do in her processing. But we don't always agree, and I think it gives everybody a great perspective on how keeping should be. I think Morgan has one of the most radical, that's what attracted me to you, was your radical way of thinking, and your out of box way of living. I love that to me is what an animal needs. And then, like I said, Dre, just, I joke with you a lot about all of the scientific names and stuff like that, but you know your shit. And I think that's very important to the reptile community. I can tell you that I would have never looked up scientific names of reptiles if it wasn't for Dre, because I could care less. It's a ball python, it's a reticulated python, it's a spider, it's a tarantula. That's how I was. But I can tell you when it came to tarantulas, I wrote down
That's where I
every
draw the line.
scientific name.
That's where I draw the
I
line.
wrote
I
down
might
every
know a
scientific
few. Yeah, I might know a few, but that's where I draw the line. Cause
I put them all on the enclosures because of you, because I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Grandma Stole or something. I think it's the black one. It's the black one.
Grandma
The
stole a
Brazilian
poker.
black.
Grandma
It might
stole a
have been the
poker.
Brazilian
Yeah.
black. Yeah, so one day I
Hmm.
got the Brazilian black and you said that. I don't know. It's a
Hold on,
Brazilian black.
don't you have a GBB? Green bottle
Yes,
blue.
you did that too. Yeah, I got one of those too. Uh-huh.
Chromata,
I got a
Chromata
J.
Pelma Cyanopubescens. There it is.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
too
one.
long. It's written on there though. So what I did was I Googled all of them and put them on the side of the enclosure, just in case someone do me like Dre. He was like, "That's a Grandma Stola, whatever." What? No, it's a Brazilian black. Well, that's the scientific name. All right, I know that now.
Yeah.
The
Nerd.
only the only reason I do scientific names is for native species for snakes or insects that I'm looking to purchase. I don't worry about it with like my retics or whatever.
Thank you.
But it really, like Nicole said earlier, it doesn't matter. These animals don't care. That's literally something
They don't
humans
care what you
created
call
just
them.
to. They don't
Right.
care. So like I don't
Thank
know,
you.
but
Darren
yeah.
says spiders always scientific. You know what, Darren? That's why I wrote them on the
No,
side
for real,
because y'all won't be able
the
to make me
tarantula
feel
community is
retarded.
something else. Like, if you don't use Latin names, I'll be like, bro, you can tell who has a life and who doesn't. That's all I'm saying. I'm
I got
sorry.
corrected on my tarantula. I misspelled the tarantula's scientific name like by one letter, and so many people messaged me and they were like, "Well, actually, this thing's being fed, it's being cared for.
Right.
I actually don't give
Actually,
a
it's a
shit."
spider. It's a spider. Actually, leave it at that.
Right.
Scientists are still discovering new species of tarantulas. Exactly. We don't start
Same for
giving our own
snakes.
name.
They just discovered a whole new species of anaconda.
I saw that. That was a crazy video.
That's dope. So now, Nicole, there's an anaconda that's almost the same length as a retic.
All right, but see, so let's talk about that. I believe that always existed. You ever see an anaconda in the African waters on like them shows? Them, they are big. They are not the typical anaconda. Them things are long. So is
Yeah,
it
but
really a
apparently
new
it's just
species?
apparently it's just never been documented.
I
But
think they
so
always existed and not
in
documented because every time I see
in
somebody
this
in the Amazon, them things are huge.
in this particular area, they said because they say most of the anacondas in that particular area are averaging 20 to 21 feet.
Like that's not
I was
already big, but a
God
pig
damn.
vet,
Wait,
22
what?
foot.
I was like, I might want to get these people out of here.
So I'm going to put on record. I'm sure that one can't eat people. No, like for real. Like that's why you would never see me going on an excursion. Like I want to go to
I think
Africa
it's
and you
dope
will not
though.
see me in the water. Yeah, I think it's dope too for other people going there and
If
getting
I
eaten by a
can't
shark.
Water,
see
water in Africa. I'd
other
rather walk through the.
than
I,
like that,
listen, what?
it was something I grew up with, like because we
Uh,
swim in like creeks and rivers and shit around here. You
Hmm.
never know what's under there because we have alligators, we have snakes everywhere. If you can't see your feet at the bottom, you don't get in that water.
Okay.
listen here, listen here. I'd rather walk through the African safari at night before I step in any water in Africa.
In
Nile
Africa,
crocs?
right?
Hell no. Hell no.
Right.
I'd rather walk through the safari at night. I'm
Well,
good. I got a chance.
I definitely told Slim, I said, I can tell you, we'll do a safari to one of the ones that's off the road, but how I've seen elephants and lions actually attack cars and tip them over and stuff like that, that's the last place I
See,
need to be
the lions ain't
tipped
what I'm worried
over.
about. It's the elephants and the rhinos and the hippos.
Yeah, hippos
You feel
are
me?
really aggressive.
Them pachyderms.
They're so cute. Mm.
I did know that. I did know pachyderms. I did know that. Just FYI. But I think I learned that in elementary school. Like,
Oh,
I,
that was that's like
it,
a
it,
hundred years
it
ago,
was,
wasn't it?
damn, almost half. I can't even be mad at you for that joke. You need to think about it one day.
No.
It was almost.
She said, did
On that note, we out. Y'all, I'm having an amazing. I gotta read my whole comment because y'all should look up several genetic traits humans got from reptiles. It'll make an
yeah.
interesting podcast. Oh, I'm on that. Thank you.
We
Y'all
about
see
to,
that
yeah.
one? That's
Yeah,
our
we can do
topic
that
for
on
next week.
Monday.
Yeah, that's our topic for next week. We got homework. I like that. Thank you so much for that idea. Thank you. He is a mess, but I couldn't even get mad at him with that one. I had to think about when I played the numbers in my head. I'm like, yeah, it's about a half 100.
I heard 100 and I was just like, no, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Wait a minute. Last week, I did not know what you was trying to say. Morgan had to break it down for me. I said, no, he didn't. When
What?
half my when you was like half my that sewing class, and then you hung up, you was gone. I said, Morgan,
Yeah.
what did that mean?
Look, I was waiting for a message too.
Morgan was like, wait a minute. Morgan was like, actually, he's trying to call you old.
The fact that she had to explain it to you make it even better.
No,
Oh
but Dre,
God.
the funny part, if we gone for real, why am I registering for sewing class next month? My seamstress is giving a
She was
sewing
like, "How the
class.
fuck he know?"
Right. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Oh God.
Oh
All right, y'all
man.
have an amazing day. I can't.
Yeah, I got to get
I
my little one to
see y'all
school
later. Yeah, I gotta drop off and get
later.
ready to let these kids swim one more time before we hit the road. This was a fun
Alrighty,
one, y'all. Thank y'all. Love
have a
y'all.
safe trip back home.
All righty.
Bye.
All
Bye,
right.
Morgan. Bye.